The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody, and good evening to anybody joining us from China or any other time from the UK. My name is Maxime. I'm the Service Delivery Executive here at CBC, and today I am joined by Jocelyn Zhu, the Food Regulatory and Market Affairs Research Analyst at ChemLinked. Very excited for this webinar today. It's a food and drink sector focused content, and our topic today is how do international FMCG brands develop and operate an e-commerce store in China? Very quickly before we get started, as always, just to double check everybody can hear and see us and see the screen as well. So we do have our webcam switched on today. You should be able to see Jocelyn here alongside me. And you should also have a panel such as this on your screen for GoToWebinar. On the left, there should be a little hand button. I'd be really grateful if you could all give me a virtual hands up, and this will let me know that the sound is working. And I will continue on. I can't see any hands going up, which is a bit concerning. Oh, no, I see a few. Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I've also circled here our questions box. Please do ask questions throughout. We want to make this possible. So at the end, we will have a 10-minute Q&A, and you can ask any questions to Jocelyn, which you might have. You can type these into the question box during the webinar, and I will collect them at the end, and we'll hopefully get through all of them. And also a little bit about CBBC for those of you who don't know. CBBC, we are the China-Britain Business Council, a leading organisation supporting UK-China trade. Here in the UK, we have approximately 120 staff across the country, working in different industry sectors and regions. Over in China, we have 13 offices across the country. You can see our map here with all of the cities which we have a presence in. And this also covers all of the tiers, and specifically first-tier cities of Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou. Jocelyn today is joining me from Hangzhou. I'm in Scotland, which is very, very dreary today. And a little bit about the opportunity for the food and drink market before I just want to go on and discuss some of the activities which CBC have. So China is projected to overtake the US to become the largest grocery market by 2023. And last year, the imported food and drink market in China was worth £780 million. It was the only UK export country in the top 20 to have double-digit growth last year. That's 25%. In the online sense, as we all know, e-commerce is increasingly important, especially post-COVID, and China's online retail market alone is worth more than the next 10 largest markets combined. That's 1.2 billion. So here at CBC, we have a variety of activities and services. Online, we have a huge variety of resources from regulation guides and insights. We also have our Hot Pot newsletter, which has a huge amount of updated information every quarter of the year. We also have here our food and drink member directory, which you can find on the website. And in addition to that, we have digital audit and e-analytics services to see how your brand is performing online in the China market. On the ground, we have lots of events going on. So these will be kicking off in September. From trade fairs such as FHC Shanghai and SILE Shanghai, you can see some pictures from our last one in the bottom corner. We also have our Great British Brands Festival. This is on the left corner, our GBF. This was Shanghai last year, Paddington themed. CBC also offer British Heritage Workshops. This is an opportunity to engage directly with your specific consumer targets in China. And we also have our Launchpad in China Navigator. So Launchpad being a fantastic stepping stone to setting up your own China enterprise and having a CBC member staff as a representative for your brand in China. CBC is predominantly a membership organisation, so we have over 900 member companies across the organisation, and here are some examples of our food and drink members. Great variety there, from large organisations to some of our lovely dynamic SMEs. Without further ado, I'll quickly introduce our service advisors. So on the UK side, we have Antonetta Becker. He is the Director of Consumer Economy and the UK Sector Lead for Food and Drink. And we also have Ran Guo. Ran is the China sector lead based in Beijing for the food and drink sector as well. But without further ado, I would love to introduce you to our speaker for today. This is Jocelyn Soon, the Food Regulatory and Market Affairs Research Analyst at ChemLinked. ChemLinked is one of our wonderful partner companies as well. Jocelyn graduated from Queen Mary University of London with a master's degree in marketing, and she has expertise in market and regulatory intelligence in China, especially for FMCG goods. I'm going to let Jocelyn share her screen and hand you over to Jocelyn.
Thank you, Max. Thank you for CBBC's invitation. Hello, everyone. Hello, my name is Jocelyn Sun, and how are you? Welcome today. Are you still working from home or have back to your office? Please feel free to tap to tell me. I will be so glad to receive your messages.
They're a tough crowd today, Jocelyn. I don't know if they sent any message. I'm gonna let you know.
Okay, it's okay. Anyway, take care and keep a positive mind. The webinar today, e-commerce, I think it is quite relevant to our recent life. Talking about this industry performance in China under COVID-19 pandemic may make sense in the future business layout after the outbreak. And here is my personal information, and here is the LinkedIn account. So, wait a minute. And here is my LinkedIn account. If you are interested in what I'm focusing on, you can follow me on LinkedIn. Before the presentation, let me do a small questionnaire. The first one is, when we talked about Chinese e-commerce, which two events firstly burst into your mind? If I asked you to use numbers to prove that you are familiar with the game of Chinese e-commerce, okay, maybe it is also a very tough question. Double 11 and 618 are two biggest events in Chinese e-commerce platforms. And for this year, here I collected some data from these three head players. They are Tmall, Jingdong, and Pinduoduo. This year, among these three e-commerce platforms, Tmall still ranked #1 with sales value approximately 300 billion yuan. Jingdong and Pinduoduo ranked #2 and 3 respectively. As we can see, for Jingdong, its sales of 618 doubled in 3 years. Pinduoduo didn't issue officially its total transaction value during this festival. It only announced like how many times it increased in orders and something like that. So at first I thought the performance of these platforms was not very good and could not, at first, I saw the performance of these platforms was not very good and couldn't be compared with his two brothers. So the company picked some good data to show off. After a few days, however, I changed my stupid thinking because here is a piece of news I saw on the website. You may heard Jack Ma for a lot of times. You may see some tidbits of Liu Qiangdong in newspapers or online. but you may be very unfamiliar with this person. Huang Zhen, the founder and the CEO of Pinduoduo. Only a few days after 618, he became the second richest person in China. So I believe Pinduoduo must sell very well in 618 without hesitate. In China, e-commerce can create miracle. Okay, the advertising time of Chinese e-commerce industry is over. Let's see what the content on Earth today. I did some modifications, so it is a little bit different from what you saw on the CBDC official website. I will start with the overview first, followed with a potential analysis of FMCG products on e-commerce, then different modes introduction, and give you some suggestions in how to begin your online business in China. Now let's start with a flowchart to see the development of e-commerce in China. It's a quite long history. I'm not good at storytelling at all, but all the history is similar. New players join in, old players who were out of style quitted. During this long period, the players began to know what kind of business modes are suitable for Chinese market. Up to now, as we all know, Alibaba, Jingdong, and Pinduoduo are head players. But if you ask me whether the massive effect in this market has formed, I couldn't answer. The first three players were defined in step 3, but they didn't exist in the next round. Besides, Pinduoduo founded in 2015, only 5 years from today. So e-commerce in China is only 24 years old. It's still in a fast-growing period. You see here the proportion of online retail sales in the total retail sales is increasing year by year. And in 5 years, it's more than double. Last year, the value of online retail exceeded 1,500 billion US dollars. Here is the unit here is RMB. Similarly, in cross-border e-commerce, the importation value is over 20% of the total CBEC transaction. So this is an overview market. What if we look at the FMCG part alone? The picture on the left shows the performance of FMCG online, while the picture on the right shows the performance of non-FMCGs. Although both charts show a clear and sustained upward trend, the trend line shows that FMCG is rising faster and faster. Obviously, beverages and drinks are always slower than prepackaged food and leisure food. But in recent years, it also shows J-shaped curve. And by contrast, non-FMCG products grew very rapidly at the beginning, but now gradually smooth. A typically S-shaped curve began to appear the bottleneck of growth. So here I conclude 4 reasons. Firstly, for FMCG sector, it doesn't rely heavily on offline service, and the purchase rate and buying frequency of FMCGs are quite higher than those non-FMCGs. Also, previous purchase experience, no matter offline or online, can make sense in informing purchasing habits. Also, in China, quick delivery and mature supply chain and fast developed logistics will make sense in helping FMCG development. After establish the confidence of selling our FMCG products online in China, it's time to move to the next part, understand each platform. I've received emails asking me the relationship between Alibaba, Taobao, and Tmall for many times in the past. To make sure all of you can understand the content later, here I want to introduce once more. Alibaba is a big company, a group. It owns many different products and services, such as Taobao platform, Tmall, Tmall Global, Alipay, and so on. Taobao is the C2C e-commerce platform. Generally, the merchants and the users on Taobao are Chinese. So for our overseas business, Tmall and Tmall Global are more suitable. So what are the differences between Tmall and Tmall Global? If products have registered or filed in China, it could import via general trade. Then the brand can set up a Tmall flagship store. Well, you know, due to general trade requires a lot of preparations and needs a lot of budget. So many overseas brands haven't entered the Chinese market. Under these circumstances, you can sell your products through cross-border e-commerce, and Tmall Global is such a platform that supports CBEC business. Jingdong Worldwide as well. Jingdong platform resembles Tmall platform, and Jingdong Worldwide is similar to Tmall Global. Both Tmall Global and Jingdong Worldwide attract international brands to launch online stores and sell products. They mainly served as a third party. But situation is quite different on Kaola. Kaola is a B2B2C business model. What does it mean? Kaola directly buy goods from the origin of each country, not in the form of merchants settled. Therefore, platforms acquires the goods firstly and then directly sells to their customers. To put it simply, it is self-operated and doesn't need to attract brand owners. Compared with the head players, Little Red Book, we also call it Red in short, and WeChat are relatively niche. The Chinese name of Little Red Book is Xiaohongshu. Little Red Book is a content-oriented social media and cross-border e-commerce platform. It is a mobile-only platform right now. At present, with over 100 million registered users and 30 million monthly active users. Since it originally began as a platform focused on overseas travel, most of the products discussed are imported cross-border e-commerce products. Its e-commerce business now boasts over 400 million yuan in monthly GMV. And its user base is primarily female and young, as you can see here. 30% of its users are below the age of 24 and over % are below the age of 30. However, these users are highly active, purchasing at least twice a month. And here I want to mention that in June 2018, Little Red Book raised around $300 million in its Series D funding round, which was led by Alibaba. In terms of WeChat, I believe you are very familiar with this app. Due to its network characteristic, merchants can set up a store on WeChat based on its mini program function. It is also a B2C mode, but WeChat is a closed private network. It is quite different from a Little Red Book. So users cannot view or interact with strangers they are not connected with. It represents that you can only share the information of the products to whom you are familiar with or you have made contract with. You have made connected with. Advertising options on WeChat are also very limited, as minimum spend for moments ads. Moments ads means here I have a screenshot here. It is a brand of it is a food brand. For those advertisements, it is at least 50,000 yuan, and they aren't much targeted. Here I put a special case, DaddyLab. DaddyLab, founded in 2015, the founder of DaddyLab, called Jim Wei, did volunteer product safety evaluation work at the beginning and shared the examining results on social media accounts such as Little Red Book and WeChat, etc. It mainly focused on the products designed for children and families. He has a large amount of followers on social media, and many people asked him to recommend products with high quality. Thus, as a KOL, he set up an e-commerce store on Taobao and WeChat mini program. Jim doesn't process manufacturers or something else. He only sold products from other brands. This model is very close to endorsement on his top. And here I searched on his Taobao flagship store. I found many products from overseas. Through this example, you can see even if some brands don't operate an e-commerce store in China, there is another approach, that is find a KOL like Jim Wei to cooperate and through his influences in China to sell products. Above mentioned is a brief introduction of your potential choices. So later, let's see how to select the proper platform for you. For international brands, here are two different modes you can choose. You can set up an e-commerce store by yourself, like develop or operate an official brand website by yourself, or launch a mini WeChat program on WeChat platform. And the other approach is to cooperate with marketplace platforms. The major platforms include Tmall and Tmall Global, Jingdong, Pinduoduo, and etc. Or some very minor platforms like VIP.com or Youmatou. Let's see the first approach, operating the e-commerce store by yourself. First, you need to develop a website and then ensure your product can be sold in China. Both general trade or cross-border e-commerce can make sense. But the disadvantages are very obvious. You need to manage supply chain and logistics by yourself. It is a quite big project for overseas brands. but the advantages are very apparent as well, because it is more independence and flexible, independent and flexible. As for WeChat mini program, it is more convenient and also very independent for overseas companies to operate, because on a WeChat mini program, there's only 2 MB web page limit, so the loading is quite fast, and people on WeChat can share the product information page to their friends and families. Also, to operate your WeChat store on WeChat, it is more free for you to do marketing events, and you can collect the consumers' data and feedback more directly. But the disadvantages, as I have mentioned, it is a closed network platform, so it is hard for you to attract the strangers on WeChat. Also, 2 MB web page size is quite limited for you to display your products. So how about the market platform? How about cooperating with marketplace platforms? I mean, third-party platforms. Consider about this approach. The first consideration must be the major platforms, because they are more, they have more users than the minor platforms. And here you may be very curious about why I didn't list the Tmall platform, because Tmall doesn't accept applications from non-Chinese mainland enterprises. So you need to first register your product or file your products in China. Then you can set up an e-commerce store on Tmall. This table compared these 4 platforms. The first one is Tmall Global. For Tmall Global, it is a mixed business model. You can open a Tmall Global flagship store by yourself and sell your products to your consumers. Also, Tmall Global will purchase goods from overseas companies, and then they will directly sell it to consumers. The advantages is the categories on Tmall Global are quite multiple. They sell almost all categories, include foods, cosmetics, and so on. But you can see here for the fees part, almost each deposit of them are quite higher than other platforms. The security deposit is $10,000 more than on Jingdong Worldwide platform. So if you consider about cooperate with Tmall Global, the budget is the first consideration. Later, I will take Tmall Global as an example. So let's move to the next part quickly. For major e-commerce platforms, the advantages are they are well known and they have accumulate reputation in China. Also, they have large network, and they can hold very big campaigns, and all the brands can participate in. Also, for the rules part, they have standardized rules and operating guidelines. It is quite clear for overseas brands to begin their business. As for the disadvantages, because they are so big, so they attract all of the overseas brands to join in. So the competitions on those platforms are quite fierce. Too many brands involved in, so the brand visibility are quite low. Also, the costs are higher. Here I take Tmall Global as the example. If you want to set up an e-commerce store on Tmall Global, you need to consider about those requirements, and it is just a part of the requirements. They have established a lot of detailed requirements for you, and these are quite special. Basically, you need to register your companies outside of mainland China, and then you need to guarantee you are the brand owner or you have the brand authorization, and or you can provide purchase certificate with complete link from brand owner. And then Tmall Global prefers those companies with over 2 years of operating experience and annual sales of over 10 million USD, 10 million US dollars. Also, as I have mentioned, Alipay is one of the products of Alibaba. So if you want to set up an e-commerce store on Tmall Global, you need prepare an Alipay account to receive the payment. And here I listed overseas brands to set up e-commerce stores. Later, I will share these slides to Maxime, and you can click to see the details. Then, after you set up an e-commerce store, how to promote and advertising your product online. First, you need to consider about the traffic, how to attract more people. In China, content marketing is quite popular. You need to pay attention to this sector. You can share notes in Little Red Book or cooperate with KOLs to publish video in Bilibili, etc. Also, many overseas brands have set up official accounts in Chinese social media platforms such as Little Red Book, Weibo, and so on, and update their new products regularly to accumulate followers. Also, if your budget allowed, you can invest advertising banner in homepage of those e-commerce platforms and put products in recommendation to attract more exposure. The second consideration is you need to attempt to engage in more and more new game rules, to engaging in more and more new games, such as live streaming plus e-commerce and some special shopping festival. Besides 618, Double 11, there are also Double 12, and recent years, Chinese e-commerce platforms also join in some overseas shopping festival like Black Friday and so on. For some companies which has enough budget, you can consider about new retailing. Combine your offline stores and offline service and online stores. Here, last but not least, here are some suggestions for our overseas friends at different situations. First, for new entrants, budget is the first consideration. It is obvious, but also you need to consider about the category of your product. As I have mentioned, Little Red Book, the users of Little Red Book are mainly females and young. So if your products are targeted at those consumers, you can you can consider cooperating with those content-oriented platform. Also for Jingdong platform, because this platform started with selling electronics, so the consumers on that platforms are mainly male. So if your products targeted on male consumers, you can consider Jingdong at first. But it doesn't mean you should to cooperate one or two platforms. You can cooperate with more platforms as you can. And the second issue is you need to write for new entrants, because the brand awareness of your brand is quite low compared with those well-known products in China. So you need to educate your consumers to quickly accept your brand. So you can consider to cooperate with content-oriented platforms or some KOLs. And in China, Chinese consumers are more willing to purchase products in third-party e-commerce platforms such as Tmall, Taobao, and something like that. So if budget permitted, consider larger platforms first, or cooperate with several different platforms. Maybe Little Red Book and Tmall. But however, there are some enterprises which are media or small or with very limited budget. You can consider minor platforms which have lower requirements and cost. Through this way, it can lower the risk for your brand, but also on that platform, so you can also attract many consumers. And before this webinar, Maxim has received 3 questions from our audience. The first one is, can UK brands in the food and drink sector with products that do not have market access set up a flagship store on Tmall Global? For this question, I can imagine that this UK brand is a new entrant. So I will answer this question after this part. Basically, if your company or your brand has registered out of Chinese mainland, here for you, UK brand, that's fine. And you own the brand or have brand authorization. Based on these 2 conditions, even though your product cannot export to China through general trade, You can also set up a flagship store on Tmall Global and sell your products via cross-border e-commerce. Also, here's a piece of good news. Tmall Global is very welcome to those brands that haven't entered Chinese market already. But attention, because you mentioned your products are lamb or chicken. So one thing that I want to mention is if your products are fresh food, you should obey the CBEC positive list, which regulates the foods can be exported. For different countries, the categories of animal-based food are limited. And here, the second question, can UK pet food brands with fish ingredients set up stores on Tmall and Tmall Global? I think this brand is also a new entrant in Chinese market. So for Tmall, exactly no. As I have mentioned, Tmall only permit those domestic brands to set up a flagship store. Those domestic brands refer to those Chinese brands and some overseas brands which have registered or filed their products in China mainland. But for Tmall Global, here I list table. The category pet food is on Tmall Global positive list, so it represents that your products can be sold on, but because the pet food should be imported to China through CBEC, so you need to obey the CBEC positive list. So the first thing you need to do is to find out whether your pet food is listed on the CBEC positive list. You can download this list on CamLink website. And the second thing is for CBEC approach, you need to make sure that your country, so here is the United Kingdom, your country has the evaluation of exporting country. It means a contract between the United Kingdom and China should be made before your products enter China. Also, the pet food manufacturer overseas should be registered. It is only required for those brands through general trade. For CBEC, it doesn't require. But pet food is under animal-based food, so the inspection and quarantine review documents should be submitted to Also, MOARA registration should be done before your food. And as for the third question, for dairy companies, it is the same as the pet food, but here is an extra question. What are the shelf life and the regulatory requirements for products? I searched on the Tmall website, Tmall Global official website. This three different categories requirements for its shelf life. Because dairy sector is quite big, so you need to find which categories your product belong to. First, if the dairy products belong to health food, nutrition, or leisure food, or something else, you need to obey that the remaining shelf life of the product must be greater than or equal to first 10 of the shelf life. And if the dairy product belongs to the special food like infant formula or FSMP, the full name of FSMP is Foods for Special Medical Purpose. If it belongs to this category, you need to make sure that the remaining shelf life of your products must be at least 100 days. As for many of the dairy products, they are short shelf life goods. So here are 4 requirements for each of those products. Also, corresponding to each category, the remarks on the label on the information page should be done before the product sold. As for existing merchants, you may be very familiar with the game rules than me, because here are some suggestions. For online e-commerce business, as Jack Ma has proposed a few years ago, you need to consider about new retailing. In China, omni-channels layout is quite significant for long-term development. And because some platforms like Tmall Global and Tmall, they both belong to Alibaba Group. So you can consider cooperating with Alibaba offline stores, such as Hema and Tmall offline stores. Also, you can attempt to expand your product, your business in different online modes, such as social e-commerce, as I have mentioned, Little Red Book or WeChat. Also, you can cooperate with some KOLs like Jim Wei or Austin Lee, something like that, to endorse your products, because KOLs in China have very big impact in promoting selling. If you have heard about live streaming plus e-commerce, it is a quite popular way to promoting product selling. Last but not least, let me introduce you CamLinked. If you find all these approaches are so difficult, and if your products haven't registered or filed in China, you need to do regulatory compliance at first. You can cooperate or contact with us. We can help you to do regulatory issues, and also we can help you to find partners to cooperate with, like KOLs or some social media platforms or some content-oriented platforms to cooperate with. Here are our official accounts on LinkedIn and WeChat. You can scan the QR code and follow us, or you can send us an email to contact with us. So for today's webinar, we have a brief introduction of Chinese e-commerce business, and the market trends for FMCGs are quite bright and has great potential. Also, Chinese consumers show needs and wants in fresh food, prepackaged food, and so on. Also, for different categories, you can you can consider to cooperate with different platforms. And for each platform, there are different rules. As for distinct brand, for new entrants, what you need to consider about before you enter Chinese market. As for some existing brands, what game rules you need to know, and you can join in this new game. And at last, I recommend you to contact with Camlink to find out more approaches or to find out reliable partners to cooperate with. So that's all for today. Thank you.
Oh, that was.
If you have any questions, you can type to the chat box.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn, for that wonderful presentation. It was incredibly clear and comprehensive breakdown of the different approaches which food brands can have with e-commerce in China. And I just have a little bit of feedback here in our chat box. The first one, Ian Miller, he said, I've seen many presentations on China e-commerce, and Jocelyn makes this topic very clear and understandable. Great presentation, and I couldn't agree more. And thank you so much as well for answering our Food and Drink member questions as well. There were quite a variety there, from pet food to dairy, so thank you so much for your expertise on that front. I also have a question here. Before we go forward, I would just like to say, if anyone has any more questions for Jocelyn, please don't hesitate to type them into our box and send them across. We have her here for another few minutes this morning, so make the most of Jocelyn, and please do send across your questions. I also have a question from Peggy. Can the slides be shared with the attendees after the session? I think so. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I think they're full of some excellent information and references there. It would be really great to share them. So if you would like a copy of the slides, I think Jocelyn has shared her QR code and her email here, and all of her contact details will be included in our follow-up email as well. So if you'd like a copy of the slides, you can email Jocelyn, and she'll be more than happy to share that with you. Perfect, thank you. I can't see any more questions at the moment, but we are approaching 10:30. I would like to very quickly mention as well, I mentioned some of CBBC's activities which are going on at the moment. In response to the lockdown and the COVID outbreak, we're actually going to be running a virtual Meet the Buyer event in July on the food and drink sector. So if that would be of interest to you, please don't hesitate to get in touch. I think we've extended the deadline till the end of June. So drop us an email if you would like to participate in that. And yeah, I think I'll just wrap up there. Thank you so much, Jocelyn, for your time today.
Thank you, Maxine. And thank you, CBBC, give me this chance to share those information. And we are quite welcome all of you to contact with Camlink.
Yes, please do. Camlink have a vast array of expertise across the different food and drink sectors, China specific as well. So as I said, I will include all of Jocelyn's contact details and details for Camlink in the follow-up, so you can get in touch if you need. This has all been recorded, lucky for you, so there will be a version of this webinar, and that will be on our YouTube channel as well, so you can access that there. And yeah, thanks again to everybody who signed on today for your time this morning. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll hopefully catch you next time. Thanks a lot, and stay safe, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Bye.